Donald Trump has a plan for the largest deportation operation in American history. And I gotta tell you, it's going to be devastating for immigrants. In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly who's at risk from day one of the new Trump administration. And I'll tell you how Trump plans to execute these deportations. You'll also learn which nationalities are most vulnerable and how you may be able to protect yourself. And we're starting right now. I'm Brian Manning, and I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, well, I help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Let me know in the comments if you've got an asylum case pending, or maybe you're considering applying. And listen, I'd especially like to hear from you if you've been waiting for an asylum interview with the asylum office with USCIS for multiple years. Let me know in the comments how long you've been waiting. Okay, let's start with the numbers because they're shocking. According to internal data obtained by Fox News from the Immigration Enforcement Agency, ICE, over 1.4 million people in the United States currently have final deportation orders. Now, these are people who've already been ordered deported by an immigration judge, but haven't yet been actually removed from the country. Some of these folks lost their case in immigration court, while many received a deportation order in absentia, which means they just didn't show up for a hearing, and so the judge ordered them removed. Listen, it makes sense to start with these people, Trump reasons, because you don't have to go through any legal process to be able to send them away. Their legal process has already concluded. You see, Trump's team is planning to start with what they see as the low-hanging fruit, people from countries that are easy to deport to and who are easy to find. According to the New York Times, they plan to leverage access to jails and prisons across the country. You see, it's much easier for ICE to simply pick up a detained immigrant from detention than it is to find them and arrest people on the street. Immigrants who are already detained are an easy target, as where locating and arresting people who aren't detained requires tons of resources and can be dangerous. Thomas Homan, who will be Trump's border czar, has explained that it takes just one officer to pick up multiple immigrants each day inside a county or state lockup. This is much easier than having a whole team of ICE agents track someone down, do surveillance on them to find the best time to arrest them, and then take that sometimes dangerous action. Now, Trump-friendly areas in the United States tend to make it easy for ICE to find and get people from jails and prisons. But so-called sanctuary cities, well, they're a different story. These are places like New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and Los Angeles that currently limit how their law enforcement can cooperate with federal immigration authorities like ICE. Trump's team wants to either force these cities to cooperate by withholding federal funding from them, or it'll double up ICE manpower in the streets in those locations. To meet Trump's deportation targets, ICE would need to significantly increase staffing, expand detention capacity to record levels, and bring on more deportation flights. They suggested using military personnel and resources for transportation, which would free up ICE officers to focus on arrests. Okay, we've talked about the practicalities of the first phase of Trump's deportation plan. Let's turn to which countries' nationals are going to bear the brunt of this assault. Okay, so remember how we said that they'll start with people who have a final removal order? Well, the data shows that the majority of these 1.4 million deportation orders are for nationals of just 4 countries. Honduras with over 260,000 final orders of removal. Guatemala with more than 253,000 orders. El Salvador with almost 204,000 orders. And Mexico with about 252,000 orders. Deportations to these countries are considered relatively easy. Geographic proximity and existing diplomatic relationships are in ICE's favor. These countries generally accept deportation flights, and the logistics are manageable given their location. Okay, now let's talk about who might be harder to deport. The ICE data reveals a list of what they call recalcitrant countries, nations that often refuse to accept deportees or won't cooperate with U.S. deportation efforts. These include China with almost 38,000 final deportation orders, Iran with over 2,600 orders, India with almost 18,000 orders, and there are several others, including Burma, Cuba, Eritrea, and importantly, given the number of this country's immigrants who are here in the United States, Venezuela. Deportations to these countries are complex because of diplomatic challenges. Some of these countries won't issue travel documents. Others limit the number of deportation flights that they'll accept. Some simply refuse to cooperate at all. By the way, if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you don't miss the insights that I share on this channel. Okay, I said earlier that Trump will first target for deportation people who are detained and for whom a final order of removal exists, right? Well, listen, that's just a starting point. That's not where they'll stop. They're going to then target non-detained people who have been convicted of a crime and then keep working down the list to eventually go after pretty much all undocumented people. Even in the early phase, when they're hunting criminals or people that they think pose a safety threat, other people without legal immigration status may be at risk of being swept up. According to a recent New York Times investigation, the Trump administration is planning something called collateral arrests. This means when ICE goes to arrest someone with a deportation order, they'll also arrest anyone else they encounter who they believe might be deportable. So yeah, just being in the wrong place, the wrong time could lead to arrest, detention, and deportation of folks who are undocumented, even though they're not actually the target of a raid. Troublingly, Trump's ICE is even going to go after some people who currently have legal immigration status. That's right, people who have permission to be here may be at risk of deportation. First, Trump wants to end temporary protected status, TPS, for various countries, but it's worse than that. They're suggesting they might strip TPS from people who currently have it, putting them immediately into deportation proceedings if they don't have any other status and don't have an asylum claim pending. Trump's people are also talking about targeting about 500,000 people who came legally through the CHNV program. That's the humanitarian parole program for nationals of Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. But wait, there's more. Plus another 800,000 who entered legally at the southern border using the CBP One application. So that's about 1.3 million people who have parole thanks to either the CHNV program or CBP One, plus potentially people with TPS. So that's right. Even though these people followed legal channels to come here or have legal status now, Trump's team wants to revoke their status and deport them. But there's something important that you need to know. Having a pending asylum application might help protect you from being put into deportation proceedings, even if your TPS or parole status gets revoked, whether it just ends and isn't renewed or is actively revoked, like taken from you. Listen, while Trump's people are going extreme in their deportation plans, they have not yet signaled that they'll change the long-standing U.S. government policy of allowing a pending asylum claim to run its course with USCIS before putting someone into deportation proceedings. You see, it's always been the case that if you've got an asylum application pending with USCIS, the government will not put you in deportation proceedings unless you get denied by USCIS. The government will give you a chance to do your asylum interview and try to win your asylum case. So listen, if you currently have TPS or humanitarian parole and you fear being harmed if returned to your country, you should seriously consider applying for asylum if you haven't already. A pending asylum application could protect you from deportation even if your current status is taken away. If you're ready to take the next step and get help with your asylum case, then please call my office today. That number is 713-909-0401. And remember, we help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you live. Call us right now to schedule an asylum strategy session so that we can help you to secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's truly an honor to serve you in your asylum journey.